I wonder where our lives go, and question who we used to be. Sometimes I feel like I'm the oxygen between the cigarette and gasoline. I can't sleep, 'cause what if I dream of going back to San Diego? We bought a one-way ticket so we can go see The Cure and listen to our favorite songs in the parking lot. Think of every person I ever lost in San Diego. Can't go back to San Diego.
What is up, Rio Hondo Prep football fans? The wait is finally over. We are here, week 0 to be specific. It is football time in Southern California. Rio Hondo Prep opens up their season down in San Diego against Francis Parker. We've been talking about it all summer. We made the announcement of the schedule release way back in February. It's finally here. No more waiting. Tomorrow night, Rio will be down in San Diego for the season opener. I am beyond excited. Cannot wait for this. A little different intro there, obviously, than we're used to. Something I am trying out for the pregame shows is maybe implementing some music as kind of a theme or something of that nature for the pregame shows. And again, this is the first pregame show of the very new season. We will have a pregame show roughly 24 hours before each and every game. This week we play on Saturday night, so the show is releasing on Friday night. And with these very brief podcasts, at least in my head, they're going to be brief. The goal is to just talk about the other team, the upcoming opponent. Every now and then we'll have a guest. We do have some great guests today that we will get to shortly. But basically it's just a way to get the fans fired up for the game of the week, either the night before, listening to it and gathering some information, or maybe my thought is that generally when you're on your way to a game, whether it's the Rams or the Trojans or the Dodgers, I don't know, it's fun to listen to the pregame show and things of that nature. So that has always been the goal with this pregame show. We're going to have the long form, the longer podcast, I will say, on Saturdays or Sundays, the postgame show with Coach Carson and a player. But the plan for this season is about 24 hours before kickoff, we will release a pregame show. And one of the things we are going to be talking about on the pregame shows this year, I did it a little bit last year, but we're going to do it a lot this year, is we're going to talk about the rules of high school football so that the Rio Hondo Prep football fans are the most educated, knowledgeable fans in high school football. At least that's my goal as a former referee. You know, I took the rules seriously and had a great career on the field. And I always hated when people thought they knew something and weren't accurate. So I'm going to educate you guys on the new rules after our interview with a couple of Rio Hondo alums here, and then talk briefly about Francis Parker, more so what they did last year, what was kind of their breakdown of their roster last year. It's a brand new season, so you never know what to expect, but we're excited about driving down the 5 freeway, right, to take on Francis Parker. The Lancers beat the Lancers, right, in the opening game. So today on the podcast tonight, I should say, I have some great guests for you guys, some Rio Hondo Prep alums. All of them are San Diego guys, 3 of them to be exact. I'm going to be joined by Colby Rivera, Kevin Horton, and Rob Hanna, who have all made their way down to San Diego for their lives and their careers. And we are bringing Rio Hondo Prep football to them. But I thought, what better way to kick off the trip to San Diego than to talk to some of the locals and just see about their excitement down there. You know, are they spreading the word? They're going to tell some other people, hey, you got to come see my high school play at Francis Parker. It's going to be great. It's the end of summer. It's going to be, I want to get the vibe of the Rio Hondo alums that are down in San Diego. So we're going to talk to them all at once. And they each had very successful football careers of their own. We'll touch on that briefly, but just an opportunity again for the fans out there as you're driving to the game. San Diego's a long trip, but you know, when you get off of work on Fridays, typically the first 2 games are Saturdays this year, but when you get off of work on Fridays and you're on the way to the game, hey, it gives you something to listen to tune in. Yeah, you got to deal with more of me. That's fine. But I'm going to try to bring to you guys a rule every week, something involving the rules that maybe you know, most high school football fans don't know about or are unclear about. And then I'm going to give my 2 cents about the upcoming opponent. Generally, we talk to Coach Carson in the post-game show. After we recap the current game, we talk a little bit about the upcoming game. But this is, again, just a way for me to put out more content, to have another episode weekly. So a pregame show 24 hours before kickoff. And then generally we'll record a Saturday or a Sunday postgame show with Coach Carson and a player. That's the plan moving forward. Okay. Just kind of to set it all up for you guys. But the season is finally here. I'm so excited, and we've been talking about it forever. And all of a sudden, boom, it's here. I've been out at practices a couple times. The Meet the Team event last Friday was great and just fun experience. But now we get into the real deal. First game, we're going to learn a lot about our team right away, much like we did last year against the El Monte Lions in the opener at Care Field last August. So it's a lot to be excited about, a long road trip ahead. I will talk more about the opponent, the road trip, kind of just our team in general, kind of what I've seen in practices and stuff. But I want to get to our guests right now as they are patiently waiting. Once again, some Rio Hondo Prep alums who graduated not too long ago. Well, I shouldn't say that now. It's a long time for me, but for them, it was, about 10 years ago, I think, give or take. We'll learn more about them here on the podcast. But let's go to our San Diego-based fan base, if you will, and hear what they have to say about the upcoming game, see about their excitement. Once again, we're going to be joined by Colby Rivera, Rob Hanna, and Kevin Horton. Let's check in with our San Diego fan base. All right. I am now joined by three members of the Rio Hondo Prep San Diego fan club, some alumni, a couple members of the alumni as well. Colby Rivera, Rob Hanna, Kevin Horton. What's going on, guys? How we doing?
Good, man. Thanks for having us.
Yeah,
Doing great.
Yeah, man,
Great.
doing good.
Rob and Kevin, you guys are roommates down there in San Diego. Seems that's a good time. I gotta imagine just hanging out and no bad days in San Diego. How long have you guys been roommates now?
Coming on 2 years
Yeah.
now. We were all roommates when they first moved down for a year as well. But then I moved to Colorado for a bit. I just came back recently. But yeah, it's been 2 years now.
Okay. So Colby, you were living with them also at one point?
Yeah, when we first came down, it was me, Rob, Kevin, and Parker, and we lived together for a year. Then Rob left, and then we had a couple other guys, or we had one other guy, Omar, moved down. So we were roommates probably for 3 years, 4 years, and then I got married and kind of left the nest.
Yo, wow, there it is, man alive. All right, well, I can only imagine you guys had some good times down there. That was always a dream of mine, to be with my buddies in their 20s and just all live in a house or something like that. So it sounds like you guys had a great time, kind of extended that Rio Hondo brotherhood into your young adult years, huh?
Yeah.
Definitely. I would say a lot of people during COVID didn't have a good experience, but us living together, I'd probably say it was the best time we could have had. So.
Oh, man, absolutely. Well, hey guys, talking to each of you. I mean, this game is Saturday night, the August 19th, down in Francis Parker. Rio Hondo football coming to you guys. After you move way down there, you don't have a chance to get to too many games. So I'll ask each of you individually. Kevin, I mean, are you excited about this game? You're going to be able to make it out and then come out support Rio?
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing is where I work, it's like a block away from Francis Parker. So I drive by it all the time. But I'm definitely excited, especially like opening up a season like that. It's always fun. Nice little road trip. And a lot of the times we will watch the games, but they have to be online. So to see it in person is always a good time, and I'm excited.
Yeah,
Oh,
we
man,
watched
that's
games with Kyle and Clark.
Yeah.
We love their commentary.
We do.
Yeah, they do a good job. And as long as the feed works decent, I mean, it's still a fun time. I'm like, hey, it's early on a Friday night. I'm sure you got, bigger and better things afterwards, but it's fun from 7 to 9 or so to be tuning into Rio. So, Rob, you come from a great football family, the Hanna family. How pumped are you that the Rio Hondo's coming to your backyard?
It's going to be pretty cool. It's going to be pretty cool. I mean, we definitely don't get to see as much of it as we used to, for sure. Like just recently, our last taste of it was when Jonathan Guerrero came down and with Citrus, and we went and watched them play. That was pretty cool. So it's nice to get another taste of that.
Oh, that's cool, man. The brotherhood is a big time deal, whether you graduated 20 years ago like me or 10 years ago like you guys. It's all one big connection. Colby, all you guys played in the 2012 regional bowl game down in San Diego against Santa Fe Christian after you guys won back-to-back CIF championships in 2011 and 2012. So I know we lost that game and that ended your career, but this has got to be pretty cool that Rio football is coming back down south.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, anytime we get to watch real football in person, it's a good time. And then my junior and senior year, we got to play Francis Parker. We had a 1-1 record against them. We lost my junior year opening up against them, and then senior year, we got to get a little rematch and we beat them. So it's kind of exciting seeing them come down. And every time we've played them, it's been competitive, and it's a good school to open up with. So I'm excited to see what it's like.
That's really neat. I wasn't aware of the series rivalry or the series record. Do you remember specifically, Colby? Was it a season opening game, kind of like this one is, kind of the build up with the road trip and everything?
Yeah, junior year it was season opener, and they beat us. So that was opening up to that 2011 season, and then senior year 2012 season. I believe it was our second or third game. I don't recall. Rob or Kevin might know better than me.
It was after Mission, so like we had just gotten.
Or third game then. Yeah, we had just got back by Mission and then played them.
So that was 2012. That was after you guys opened the season with the great win against Arcadia, totally dominated them, and then were completely humbled the next week at home against Mission Prep, who you would later beat in the finals. So it was week 3 after kind of the biggest high and the biggest low of a young season, where you then played Francis Parker and took care of them, huh?
Yes, sir. Yeah, but like I said, they always have a good team, and they have some good athletes. So I don't know what the team is like this year. We're actually going out there tomorrow to check out the scrimmage against Coronado. So excited to see that ahead of the Rio game on the 19th. But yeah, so I guess you can say, I wouldn't say it's a rivalry, but yeah, we have some history, or us three have some history with Francis Park. That'll be cool.
Oh, that's cool, man. Hey, that is dedication, man. Going to check out the enemy and their scrimmage. I like that. Hey, send us some notes, and we are recording this a week earlier. So, but that's commitment. I love it, man. I don't know other fan bases with alumni that would take time out of their schedule. Yeah, let's go check out who we're playing next week. Kevin, you talked about working close to Francis Parker. I'm going to ask each of you guys about your jobs and careers now. But Kevin, where exactly do you work, and what do you do?
Sure. So I work for the University of San Diego, not to be confused with San Diego State or UC San Diego, because every time I say I work for the University of San Diego, nobody knows what it is. We're a small private school. We got about 10,000 students. I've been there for about a year and a half now, and I work as a budget analyst. So I just kind of help manage their budget and clean it up and all that good stuff.
I know USD well, the Toreros. I worked my first Division I college baseball game there and my first Division I college football game there. So it's a special place to me. And, I've worked at the other schools as well, but USD is special. Beautiful campus. I mean, you can't go wrong there. Rob, tell me about, you mentioned off the air some of the things you do. I mean, I was blown away but you were in Colorado at one point too. What do you do, Rob, if you could sum it up for us?
Yeah, I've kind of been doing a lot of random different things over the last few years, but all of them related to biology. So I was going into medicine, but then I kind of changed gears and started basically I wanted to study birds, to put it plainly. And so I started doing research through Texas A&M, as well as University of Washington and various biology labs. And then now, as I'm coming back from my master's degree, I'm also getting more into teaching. So I teach at the university that I'm going to school at, some different labs as well. So, just basically biology with a kind of a blanket, leave it there. And then, just whatever comes forward after that.
Wow, man. The scientist. That's what we're going to call you from here on out. That's I had a tough time in all the sciences, but I made it through it. That's why I'm just a podcaster now. But anyway, and then Colby, finally, you were on the podcast last year before the Pasadena Poly game, or after it, I think it was. But what have you been up to down in the San Diego area all these years?
Yeah, finished grad school. Kevin and I graduated together from San Diego State. Went directly I was working for the DoD. I was a federal employee, and now I'm a finance consultant for the DoD. I work for a large consulting firm, Booz Allen Hamilton, and I'm inserted into a large Navy client, Naval Information Warfare. So just similar to Kevin, I serve as a budget analyst and analyze costs, primarily costs for just, I guess you could say, installing weapon systems or information warfare systems on ships.
Wow, you guys are all three of you are doing the whole adulting thing very well. Congrats to all of you. Kevin, I think you mentioned that you had a 10-year reunion. We had a 20-year reunion in June. There was only a few of us. Can you believe, Kevin, that it's been 10 years since you were in high school?
No, not at all, man. I don't feel like it's been 10 years. It feels like we have so many core memories from those days that it just doesn't feel so long ago. We talk about it a lot, so it stays fresh. So 10 years flew by.
Also, just because we haven't our humor, we're just as like stupid as we were in high school. So like every time we hang out, it's very similar.
That never changes. I promise you that. I don't see my buddies as often as I like, but when we get together, it's pick up right where we left off. So Colby, I mean, 10 years has flown by. They say 4 short years flies by, but I mean, 10 years since you guys graduated after a very successful back-to-back CIF football championships.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that blew my mind. We've been out of Rio longer than we were ever at Rio, which is like, when you think about it, it actually feels really weird. It's such a pivotal point in our lives, and in those core years where you really develop as a person. But yeah, like Kevin said, it's flown by. It doesn't feel like it, and like Rob said, I feel like I don't know, mentally I still feel like I'm in high school. But like you said, we're doing the adulting thing very well, but in my mind we're not. But yeah, I don't know. I really don't know what else to say about it. I'm just getting old. I'm getting bald. I don't know.
Well, I'm ahead of you there, but there you go. I got tired of cutting it. I'm like, all right, we're going all the way. We're shooting 6. We're working on the hairline here. But you guys had a great time at Rio on the football field, very successful. And I was thinking of you guys and your family heritage. Colby, your brother Josh was on the first 11-man championship team alongside my brother. Kevin, you were also on championship teams with these guys. Your brother Ryan was on a championship team. Your father, Pastor Horton, played in Rio's first CIF championship game in '72 that they unfortunately lost. And then Mr. Hanna here, you have quite the Rio Hondo heritage. You were on a championship team, or 2 of them, excuse me. Your brother Brad, your cousin Brad, who played alongside me, was on a couple championship teams. And then, I mean, other members of your family, Rob, were on championship teams as well.
Yeah, my dad was in the '77 championship. Chaz, I played alongside Colby's brother as well. They actually had a thing where they ran into each other in preseason and got concussed. I remember that. Yeah, they're like Hannah's have been in Rio football for a while now, and we get results. So
yeah, you were telling me that all the banners up there. If we've all looked at the names over the years, but I mean, I don't know the actual count, but you said the Hanna name is probably up there more than any other name.
Yeah, I don't even want to come at me for it, but I think we're at least, in the top 3. We're up there. There's a lot of Hannas.
A lot of Hannas on those banners. That's awesome. Good stuff. I want to ask you guys each now about your Rio experience. It could be about the football program specifically, or just your time at the school, whatever you want to do. This is a football with the season starting here shortly, just reflecting on your memories. Kevin, I'll start with you. I mean, what are your memories of Rio Hondo Prep or Rio Hondo football? Anything come to mind?
Yeah, definitely. And I'm probably going to give you a bit of a new perspective here. I'll talk specifically on football. And my attitude when I was in high school, especially, was I did not like football. It was not my thing. And so my goal was ultimately to play almost as little as possible. And that didn't work out well for me. They kind of still made me play a lot. But I'll say that I know, speaking with Mark specifically, he knew that. It was very obvious. I think my teammates knew it too. My coaches knew it. But Mark, he spoke to me specifically, and he mentioned, whether or not you do like it, you still need to try, and not for yourself, but for the people around you, because we are a small school, and sometimes they do need you. If you're not like a big school, you don't have a lot of people to replace you. You gotta do your best. You gotta try, and you gotta do it for them, because that's what they would want, And so that was really my motivator going through high school and being in games and stuff. And I'm still a competitor, like if I'm in the game, I want to win, and I'm going to do my best. But through practices, through workouts, I was trying my best to do it for the team mostly. So my perspective on football was always a little bit different, I'd say. But I learned a lot. I got to play on 2 championship teams, had a lot of good people around me. So I learned a lot of valuable lessons, not about football, so to speak, but about like character growth and doing stuff for others, I guess.
Well, that's really well said, Kevin, because there's currently guys I'm sure on the team that feel this way. They're not loving football, and maybe some of them aren't going to play much. Maybe some guys are team managers, but I think the real football experience, you can get lots out of it, no matter your role on the team, and every role is important. You know, the NFL has 53-man roster. Rio not quite that much, and I know that they always talk about 1 through 53. Every guy counts, and so every guy in the roster counts. So thanks for that very unique perspective. And come on, guys, I know he balled out a little bit. I mean, he made some big plays when it mattered, right?
Yeah. I had some fun moments. We had some good times.
Hey, that's right. Rob, talk to me about your experiences, any memories or lessons, or I don't know, just real football, man, what it means to you.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I was lucky enough that I started with Todd Carson in junior high, and then he kind of moved into the high school program with us. And I feel like he's definitely someone who is kind of him. And then, just Rio Hondo football at large has kind of instilled in me this kind of perseverance, because I was always kind of one of the smaller, less talented guys, I would say. And so I definitely had to work pretty hard in order to like make it in there. I mean, I only played tight end because Kev didn't really want to, but that I tried it as hard as I could to do that. And, I feel like blocking some of those insane guys has definitely kind of been something that stuck with me. Basically just like the perseverance that's needed for that's definitely applicable towards life. There's a lot of stuff that comes at you, and just knowing that, like I had to do linebacker drills with Colby kind of makes it a little easier when I'm going in for some random meeting that's not going to hurt me as much.
Yeah, the drills.
Oh yeah,
what was that,
for
Rob?
sure. Going up against him and Jake Holgate in the linebacker drills wasn't like the best part about practice, that's for sure.
Yeah, no wonder you like working with birds and stuff now. It's much easier than hitting those guys.
Yes, definitely less painful, that's for sure. But
Oh,
I
good.
would also say just the friendships that we made along the way too. I mean, these guys have been like, you go through quite a bit together through the program, starting from early summer workouts and everything and if you go deep into the postseason, but you kind of establish these friendships that I think last for a really long time, and some that I cherish a ton.
Yeah, a case in point, I mean, you three guys are very good friends. You used to all live together, and I will speak from that too. Like when you go through life, it's much easier to, be open about things with your friends who you've gone to war with and who you've been through things with, and you grew up together. It's just a much easier thing with life. Colby, talk to me about your Rio experience. We touched on it a little last year, but I mean, man, what Rio football means to you, or any specific memories you have.
Yeah, it's building on what those guys are saying. I would just say Rio, like I mentioned a few minutes ago, it's football and Rio. It's a big part of the core development years of your life. Football in particular, at Rio football, I mentioned it last year in the podcast, but it just really builds discipline. So whether you love football or you hate it, you have to show up every day and practice. It's just that's what you're supposed to do. It's what you had to do, and it was a requirement. Like I loved it. Kevin didn't, but we showed up together, and then that's how we kind of build those bonds, those friendships, because you're going through something that's, it's not always fun. But you put in the work and you come out with the CIF championship at the end of it. And I think that's just a symbol of the testament of putting in hard work, and being disciplined, showing up every day, and then seeing the fruits of your labor at the end of the season. And I think that's just, you can kind of carry that mentality through the rest of your life. You put in the work, I don't know. You can put in the work, and every single day, you don't necessarily know what the end goal is going to be, but you're progressing forward. Obviously, in real football, you want to CIF championship, but in life, I kind of take that mentality where show up every day, do what I'm supposed to do, and there'll be some type of quote unquote reward at the end of the tunnel.
Yeah, I guarantee you, if I were to ask your guys' bosses, maybe not on a bad day, but in general, if I were to ask them and be like, hey, there's a bunch of other guys graduating every year that are just like these guys who came from Rio Hondo Prep. If this is an example of a Rio Hondo guy, would you be interested in having more of them, at your workplace? I guarantee you, bosses would be like, yeah, send me more guys like this, because I think that Rio Hondo character, you do carry it with you no matter what you're doing. You guys touched on it each individually there. And I've just, in doing this podcast and talking to so many different people, that's one constant I've seen, is that guys have just taken the work ethic, the commitment, all those things, and taking it into their life. And it's really, really paid off for them. I want to ask you guys now, as we'll wrap it up here soon. You know, you guys have been out of high school 10 years. Why is it that you guys still care about Rio football? Most people, they graduate, they move on. Oh yeah, how is my team doing? Big mission statement of the podcast is to kind of create buzz and get the fans and alumni back involved. But I mean, I'm sure you guys have favorite professional or college teams, but you guys each mentioned you root for Rio and you check it out. So Kevin, talk to me about, I don't know, why does, as a young adult now, why does Rio football continue to be something that you want to tune in for every week?
No, that's a good question. I had to think about that for a second. I think for me personally, I still have a lot of ties to the community, obviously through my family, also through friends. I have a lot of friends that are now involved in the coaching staff, so it's fun to see them get to do their thing. But I think it's fun to just watch them succeed. I know how it felt being on that team, putting in the work and reaching those goals. So it's always fun to look back and see this small school like really put in some good work and see what they can do, you know. And it's always tough, so it's fun to see them overcome these challenges, these bigger schools. Sometimes you get to see them play some large public schools, and that's always fun to see what they can do. But I think I just have always had a strong connection with the school, with the community. And even with football, I didn't like it, but I still love to watch it. I still love to see them play. And I don't know exactly why, but I always keep coming back.
Hey, those are good reasons. And yeah, I had people tell me, wait, you're doing what? What are you doing? I'm like, okay, it's my high school football team. I was never a Ram or a Trojan or but I was a Rio Hondo Care. And so it means a little bit more. And hey, during football, it's one game a week, a couple hours. And if you don't get to watch the game, you can hear about it on the podcast at least. Rob, Rio Hondo football has been huge in your family over the years. Your dad and uncles, and they've all been to games all over those years as well. But I don't know, what does Rio football continue to mean to the Hanna family? Why is it still be a big thing 10 years after high school?
Yeah, I mean, I think the history itself is kind of a part of it, but I mean, I was also lucky enough too to kind of grow up in it. And so there's always when you're young and you look forward to the high school games, because then you could I don't know if Field 2 exists anymore, but we would go and play football on Field 2 during the games because the lights were bright enough to like light that. And you have this pride has been kind of instilled in us over the years of just being like, you know, proud of our team and like thinking, you know, when they're walking through, there's all the different kind of ceremonial things that were so cool. And then eventually we went through it and experienced everything we did. It's one of those things that is just very cool to kind of keep following because of how much we've seen and gone through ourselves, that I just really like checking out and seeing if they're good.
Yeah, seeing the boys do things that we all did, or at least you know, the work we all went through. And I don't know, there's just a connection there. And I've seen a ton of high school football. I've officiated a lot of it. I've been all kinds of places. Real football is unique. It's just, there's nothing quite like it. It's more than just football. It's overachieving, it's building. It's just, I don't know. I wish more people would follow it. Colby, you know, your turn now. I don't know, 10 years later, you know, you got a lot of other things going on in your life, but every now and then, I'm sure you're checking the Rio box scores or something at least and seeing how the boys are doing.
100%. Like Kevin said, I think a lot of it's just the community, you know. I'm sure you've experienced it, but you talk to any Rio alumni or somebody that's played Rio football, it's almost like a common language. You know, it's somebody that's easy to talk about, somebody that's gone through what you've gone through, and you have like some common ground to, you know, have some good discussions on. And Rio football hasn't evolved a whole lot. You know, they're running a lot of the same systems that we were running back then, so it's just interesting to kind of see, you know, that formula continue to work regardless of who's in your position or who was in your position. So love to see what the quarterbacks are doing now, what the linebackers are doing now, because they're doing the exact same job that I was doing. And it's just fun to watch and see how Rio's progressing. Not necessarily, maybe progressing is not the right word because they're running the same systems, I would say, but you know, but just how their system continues to work. And that's just a testament, you know, to the coaching as well. But yeah, I just love to, you know, watch it year after year. And I don't know, that's all I can say.
No, that's great stuff, man. It's really great. Yeah, to your point, I think they've always been able to tweak things just enough. Not a whole lot. You don't change the foundation, but I was at practice this week and watching them kind of work on just pass protection, on play action, and just sliding and making sure each gap's covered. And I don't know, it's just the intricacies, the details that they now go into is really eye opening. And you guys were a big part of that on your back-to-back championship teams. Guys, I can't thank you enough for jumping on here and getting the fans fired up for the big game on Saturday, August 19th. I'm going to go down super early. I've already announced to some people or threw it out there that there's a Round Table Pizza right by the stadium. And if that's too full, there's a burger joint right next door that we can hopefully spill into all these restaurants before the game and, tailgate a little bit or whatever you want to call it. So hopefully I see you guys there early and we can share a piece of pizza or something and talk real football for the game.
Sounds good. Keep us posted.
All right, Colby Rivera, back-to-back CIF champion, as well as Rob Hanna and Kevin Horton. Appreciate you guys coming on, and we'll be seeing you in a couple weeks, man, or less than a couple weeks, a week from Saturday, man. Can't wait. It's going to be so exciting.
Yeah.
All right, fellas, stay safe. We'll see you soon. Go Rio.
Go Rio.
It's always fun catching up with members of the alumni, especially guys that are going to be in our neck of the woods next week. We're coming to them, bringing Rio Hondo football to the San Diego sunshine, and down by the shore. Should be nice weather, hopefully, much like we had last week here in LA County, man. Nice overcast, not too sunny, not too hot. Should be a great weekend to head down to San Diego and maybe, I don't know, maybe stay a few days. We'll see. I don't know what my travel plans are yet, but the offer does stand that hopefully fans get down there early. I've already put on our social media the Round Table Pizza address right there by the school that we can all gather at maybe before the game and, fellowship a little bit before kicking this thing off. Should be a lot of fun, decompress from that long drive, whatever it is. But thanks to Colby, Rob, and Kevin for coming on the podcast. Great catching up with members of the alumni, and I know they're holding down the fort for the Rio Hondo San Diego boosters, if you will, and I'm sure we'll see them and say hello next Saturday or as a couple days here as we record this podcast. But that's kind of what we're gonna do throughout the season with the pregame shows. Is I want to have on members of the alumni, maybe some coaches from other teams. That's where you will hear kind of some insight from members of the alumni, or kind of that outside in look of Rio football, if you will. And then the post-game shows over the weekends, that'll be dedicated pretty much to just Coach Carson, him recapping the game and talking to a player throughout the season. And we'll get to learn a little bit about the guys with those short interviews with them, recapping the games and their experience as well. But as far as the alumni goes, last year I did Coach Carson, a player, and the alumni. We were just getting this started, on the post-game show. And I was just like, all right, it's too much this year. Let's just focus on members of the alumni coming on for the pregame show, roughly 24 hours before kickoff. And you'll hear from guys like that, like our San Diego friends there that you just heard talking about their lessons. And man, what a bunch of great dudes. Again, every time I talk to members of the alumni, they're leaders in their industry in some form or another. They're dealing with the finances of colleges and the Department of Defense, and then working with biology and birds. I mean, way too much for me. I'm just this amateur podcaster that is enjoying every second of this and looking forward to Rio football finally kicking off Saturday, August 19th in San Diego. I've been saying it all summer, been saying it forever, been playing that San Diego song in my car a lot, as well as a bunch of other songs. That's something else, part of the pregame show we're going to do. I'm going to have kind of songs that, I have my intro song for the regular podcast, and of course ending with the alma mater, but I thought that was more fitting for the post-game show, obviously singing the alma mater after games. So it kind of fits there. And then, the intro that I'm proud of from my buddy, Chris Alba, who recorded that with me a long time ago. But as far as the pregame show, I think we're going to try a different song before the show, I should say, and kind of end with that song as well. Kind of the theme, the song theme of the week. I don't know how you want to call it, but I have some ideas and things that I want to do. So that's the plan moving forward for the Rio Hondo pregame shows, as well as learning a little bit about the football rules. So many people have watched football for a lot of years, and they think they know it all. Usually we have our best view from the stands, right? Where we think we can call the right plays. We think we can ref the game. We think we can do what the kids are doing. Well, I want Rio Hondo fans to be the most educated, the most knowledgeable football fans out there. I am okay with X's and O's, which I talk with Coach Carson, but I think I'm pretty good at the rules. And that's kind of something I did for a great number of years, I think 11 years or so, officiating high school football, college football. And so I want to educate the fans and us to talk weekly about a rule of the week, just something that maybe is different in high school football than other sports, than other levels of football, we'll say. I thought this week, since it is week 0, that I would talk about some of the rule changes going into high school football. There's not a lot of them. Don't think this is going to be any kind of like long discussion. This is just going to be bullet points really to educate us, the fans. And then after the kind of the rules segment here, I will then talk a little bit briefly about Francis Parker, since I don't know a ton about him, but I did a little research and we'll roll with it here on the week 0 pregame show. So to the 2023 rule changes, I officiated for 11 years for the Foothill Citrus unit, which is on the east side of the 605 freeway, 605 out to the 15, down to the 60, kind of along the 210 area, all those schools. So I had a great time, worked a few championship games, a great career. I enjoyed it. I probably could still be doing it. Maybe I'll go back. I don't know, but my commitment now is to Rio Hondo football. And I want to be kind of that bridge, if you will, to us and the officials, because those guys are out there working hard. I know they make mistakes. I made plenty of them as well. They're human. And sometimes, yeah, there's guys that maybe don't care enough, but there's a shortage of bodies. And so you're trying to get 5 officials on a field every Friday night or Thursday night or Saturday night, whatever it is. And so we need to be patient with these guys. A lot of them are older guys or guys that are brand new to the craft. They're not professionals by any means, just like the players and our coaches aren't professionals. So you got to be patient with the officials. And that said, when they're wrong, I'll say when they're wrong. And you guys, I'm sure, will do the same thing. But as far as the rules go, let's break them down here. Just a few 2023 football rule changes with the NFHS. Remember, it is not college football. It's not NFL. Every level of football has some different rules. And so I don't want us to say the wrong thing, or we're yelling at someone, or we think we know something. Anyway, let's get knowledgeable here for a second. A few rule changes. This isn't a big one, but it's just something cosmetic, if you will. They clarified that the towels do not have to be the same solid color for each player. So that was a big thing for years. You guys need to have all white towels or all black towels or team color. Now, pretty much, as long as it's not anything crazy, you guys can wear different towels and different colors. So not a major concern there. That's just the types of things that rule changes that are made every year. There's usually something about the uniforms that they throw in there. And keep in mind, the rules committee, it's all coaches. These aren't officials. Officials' job is to take the rules and then go enforce them. It's coaches who are on the committee and make all these changes every year. So a big rule change this year, which I think a lot of people are not going to like, but it's just the way things are in 2023. It's all about safety all the time, right? So a couple years ago, they implemented a rule, unnecessary roughness, personal foul, basically eliminating the blindside block. So if a player did not see a block coming, you couldn't just blow a guy up, right? You just can't do it. Anytime you hit a guy in the head, that's targeting. That is a different that's a different rule than we're talking about. You know, people see that and they, oh, it's a big hit. He hit him in the head. He hit him in the throat. Okay. That's, yeah, stuff above the shoulders. That's considered targeting, forcible contact to the head or neck area, obviously. But the new rule that is into play this year is in regard to personal fouls, similar to the blindside blocks that were eliminated a few years ago. You know, we used to love seeing those, right, on the punt returns. Oh, the guy's going to tackle someone and just gets blindsided. Those are no longer in the game. Whether it's in the front, it's illegal. At one time was legal. No longer can you do that. And the definition of what is deemed to be a personal foul or not, I know it basically. It's like, oh, and we joke about it. We say, oh, we hit him too hard, right? Yeah, I guess that's kind of the way things go. The way that it's deemed, I guess. I don't know how else to say it, but contact with opponent, including a defensive player, which is deemed unnecessary or excessive, and which incites roughness. So unnecessary, excessive, and unnecessary roughness, right? If the referee determines, hey, a guy did not need to blow up that defender or whatever, blindside block. Yeah, so he hit him too hard, basically, when he wasn't looking. Yeah, that's going to be a personal foul of 15 yards. And it's unfortunate. I don't like the rule. It's about safety or whatever, but it is what it is. Now, what they did this year, just kind of piggybacking off of that, is they added basically definition to a receiver catching a pass, as they extended him being defenseless. So before, the receiver's catching a pass, you obviously couldn't hit him you can't hit anyone up in the head at any time, really, unless he lowers his head, and that's a different story. But they changed the criteria, really, for a receiver being defenseless. So you basically, similar to the blindside block, even if it's not in the guy's head, you cannot blow up a receiver. You can't launch your body into any part of his body while he is still attempting to catch the pass. He is defenseless until he firmly possesses the ball and has it possess it and is no longer trying to catch the ball. So if he's trying to catch the ball, you come and blow him up, right? Separate the receiver from the football, like everyone has been taught for years. That is illegal now. And now you can say, well, what are you supposed to do? Well, there's a couple criteria that the defenders need to be aware of in the passing game: safeties, corners, maybe linebackers occasionally. You have a few options here. You can't just, zero in on a guy and launch and unnecessarily violently hit him anymore. You just can't do it. I'm not a fan of it. I don't make these rules. I'm just expressing it to you guys. So the options, the way to avoid a penalty in which they deem and the NFHS, the criteria, I should say, excuse me, to help, let's see, 232.16. These rule books are interesting, by the way. If you ever read one of these, you'd be very intrigued and be like, oh man, I need to learn more about football. So anyway, a receiver or a person, same thing with the defensive player. If the defensive player is intercepting a pass, he's protected also by defensive player protection. Okay, so any player catching a pass, he's forcibly contacted by an opponent, and the contact is not incidental as a result of making a play on the ball. So the defender there's three things that could prevent a penalty here. One is incidental contact, meaning you're playing the ball. If you're going for the ball and your shoulder busts into the guy and it knocks him on the ground, okay, that's not going to be a penalty, because in the referee's eyes, you're playing the football. What I would say here is, if and you got to make it obvious, right? You can't just hit the guy and then put your arms up like, oh, I was trying to catch it, right? I would say if you got two arms trying to catch a pass, or one arm maybe swatting at a pass, to me, that's you playing the football, right? Making a play on the ball. You're not trying to hit the defenseless receiver. The other option you have is initiating contact with open hands. I know this sounds stupid and weird. You got all these pads on, but as far as aggressively hitting a receiver, if you use two hands, if your hands lead with the contact, much like a block, you're okay. You're okay, right? You shouldn't be penalized in that scenario. So your safety, you see the receiver going to catch a pass, you run over and you lead with your hands and push him. You're not hitting him with your shoulder, forearm, or definitely not your helmet, right? If your hands lead, then you should be okay, right? And obviously with you lead with your hands, the collision isn't going to be as violent. So you can use open hands, initiated with open hands. The third, and I would say best scenario here, and something that Coach Carson and Rocky Seto and AJ Corsini, all these guys on the defensive side of the ball preach constantly, is they call it the hawk tackle, right? With their Seattle Seahawk ties. Basically an attempt to tackle by wrapping arms around a receiver. Meaning to me, and I talked to some officiating buddies about this, you can still have a big hit on a receiver, but it better be clear as day that your arms are out wrapping the receiver. Most of the time you go to wrap a ball carrier or a quarterback or a punt returner, whoever you're trying to tackle, it's clear that you are trying to tackle the opponent, right? Take him to the ground. You can lead with that shoulder. You can make good contact below the neck, of course. If you're going to square up that guy in the general strike zone area, right, and you're clearly wrapping and the receiver gets blown up and knocked back, that's a clear football play. That's a clear tackle. So again, as far as contact with a wide receiver, you can't go up in his head area ever, right? That's just something you can't do. That's targeting. That'll be a penalty forever. And if it's close, we don't have replay and all that in high school. If the referee thinks for a second, yeah, I think he hit him in the head, they're going to throw the flag every single time. They're going to err on the side of safety. Okay. But hopefully I'm not confusing you guys. A wide receiver is considered defenseless until he fully catches the ball. So you cannot blow up the receiver. What are the three ways to get out of jail, if you will? There's incidental contact as a result of playing the ball. So you play the ball, you're trying to catch the ball or knock the ball away and you hit the guy. Okay. Yeah, you didn't clearly attempt to initiate unnecessary contact to the guy. Second option is open hands. You initiate with open hands. You're going to push the guy. You can knock him to the ground doing that, right? And then he loses the ball. Incomplete pass. Cool. You're good. And the third way is if you're attempting clearly to tackle with wrapping arms around the wide receiver. Not saying you can't use your shoulder pads. You still can use your shoulder pads there, but it's a way to take away the perception that, you're committing a personal foul and just trying to blow the receiver up. It's hard to wrap when you just kind of launch your body into a guy. I know this is all weird 2023 football. I think it's, in my opinion, I don't like it, but what are you going to do? These are the way the rules are written, and I guarantee you the first few weeks, fans are not going to like this. Now, I would say on the Rio Hondo side of things, Rio Hondo receivers are generally a little smaller. So maybe this could work in their favor. Guys getting blown up, they should feel more comfortable too, going out for passes, knowing that they're not going to get exposed or beat up, according to the rules, at least it not being a penalty. But so that's kind of some added safety, we'll say, for this year. The blindside blocks were a big step a few years ago. You just can't hit it. You can't blow guys up anymore. You just can't do it. And similarly, it's trickled into wide receivers or receivers catching a pass. Until he has clearly caught the ball, you cannot square the dude up and just knock him into Timbuktu or whatever phrase you want to use. So that's a huge rule. Again, any big hits now in high school football, generally you're going to see a flag. I don't like it. I think it's stupid, but that's just the way the world operates sometimes in this new age we live in. So just be prepared for a flag to hit the ground if you see a receiver attempt to catch a pass and get blown up. All right, it's going to get called. It's going to get called. It's a personal foul. It's 15 yards, and we got to be aware of that. And I think Coach Carson has to work with his defensive backs on that for this throughout the season. Another big penalty change is in regards to enforcement, and I'll leave it at this because there's not a ton of other new rule changes this year. But as far as enforcement goes in high school football, for the longest time, penalties by the offense, generally holding, blocking the back, things of that nature, face masks that occurred in the offensive backfield, it was a spot foul. So maybe you went back to pass, you threw an incomplete pass, but your tackle held, right? And if he held 6 yards back behind the line, that's where the flag was. It ended up being a 16-yard penalty, 10 yards from the spot of the foul, right? And so it would back you way up, and people would always, hey, it was a 15-yard penalty or whatever. It was a spot foul in high school. Now they finally made the change. Penalties by the offense now will go to the previous spot. So if there's a holding on first down, first and 10, it will now be first and 20. The exception is if there is a holding in the end zone, or block in the back or something like that in your own end zone, it would result in a safety because they would go with the spot of the foul. That's pretty universal now in all levels of football, pro, college, and now high school. Collectively, if there's a foul by the defense in the offensive backfield, say you have a quarterback sack, 8-yard loss, and you tackle the guy by his face mask, right? In years past, penalty would come out 15 yards from the spot of the foul. It ended up being a 7-yard penalty, right? But now penalties by the defense in the offensive backfield will go to the previous spot as well. And it would be, 15 yards, however many yards it is. So kind of making it a little bit more universal in football, making it easier, right? The spot doesn't matter as much unless a goal line is threatened. Because in general, if the play goes, if the run ends up going beyond the line of scrimmage and the foul is, say a guy runs for 5 yards and there was a holding 2 yards beyond the line of scrimmage, it would obviously go from the spot of the foul or the end of the run, whichever hurt him more. If both of those are beyond the line of scrimmage. I hope that makes sense to us. This is, some officiating football 101 here. You see, there's a lot that's going on. And I asked some other questions from some officiating friends, but I'll get into more of that throughout the season. What we're going to see is plays are going to come up, I think, throughout the year. Once we start playing games, and I'll be able to identify it and then talk to you guys about it. What happened, if the officials got it right, if they enforced it right, if what I thought of the call in the third quarter of the game or whatever. That's what I want to do on the podcast. Again, not to talk officiating and rules all the time, but just I want to educate the fans and us to be aware of what's going on. And if we are going to say something, let's try to say the right thing and be aware. So towels, no big deal there. Penalty enforcement is a big one. And of course, the unnecessary roughness on the defenseless receiver criteria. There's going to be a play in a game or two that, again, people will not be happy about, but it's just written this way. It's going to be enforced. They're really trying to take any big hit out of the game they can. The stuff in the trenches kind of is no holds barred, but As far as the big hits out in the open, I mean, pretty soon there's going to be eliminated from all levels of football. And I think that takes a lot of fun out of it, but whatever. I don't get a vote. So if you have questions about rules, please shoot them to me. Charge to keep pod at gmail.com. Charge to keep pod back-to-back P's in there at gmail.com. And of course, any other questions or time or things you want to say about the podcast or the team, feel free to shoot a message my way, and we'll try to, part of football is knowing the rules and knowing the game. And I think that's something I want to do here on the Charge to Keep pod, especially on the pregame shows. And I'll talk with Coach Carson about a lot of this stuff as well. And probably it'll spill into some post-game shows. Okay. So that's it for the rules portion of the pregame show. Now, finally, let's talk about Francis Parker, albeit briefly. All we can really talk about them last year is their record last year. They were 5-7. You notice that's a 12-game season. They did play 2 playoff games, lost the second one, obviously, but made themselves, that's a pretty successful season. If you get to that second weekend of the playoffs, 16 teams in your division usually. So pretty good season. They ultimately fell to Fallbrook in the playoffs, 47-21. But what I wanted to point out last year was that they had 2 common opponents of Rio Hondo. And if you remember these 2 opponents Rio Hondo faced, you can kind of look at the scores, kind of compare and think to yourself, okay, I kind of know where these guys stood last year. They opened up playing Pasadena Poly, and they beat Poly 52-27. So they put up some points, but they also gave up a lot of points in that week 0 affair last year. They also lost to Campbell Hall 19-13, which is a very similar score, I believe, to Rio Hondo and Campbell Hall last year in the season finale. I believe it was 20-7 or maybe 19-7, somewhere in there, but very similar score. And then Rio, of course, beat up Poly pretty good as well. So I don't know, a very similar team. And I was kind of like, that's interesting. And they finished second in the Pacific League. I went back and looked at their roster last year to see, let's see how many guys they have coming back. On their roster from last year, they listed 32 guys. Of those 32 guys, 12 of them were seniors. So a very senior heavy team. There were only 4 juniors. 7 sophomores and 4. And not, let's see, what did I have? Let's see if I can do my math here. I'm not quite the biology guy. Rob Hanna was, but it was 12 seniors, 4 juniors. So that's 16. I know it was 7 sophomores, and that would mean we would need another 16. I think it was 9 freshmen. So there was a lot of freshmen on this team last year, similar to our team, right? Who played with a lot of freshmen, and they had senior heavy and then a lot of freshmen. We didn't have many seniors. We had, the best senior, one of the best we've ever had, in Ryan McCullough, and then a ton of freshmen and some sophomores and juniors as well. But so this team, very young indeed, only 4 seniors who are coming back who played football on the team last year. Now, rosters could change. We all know how those things work, but I thought I would make that of note, since we don't have really many scores to talk about this year in regards to their football team, because they haven't played any games. We did get that scouting report there from Colby Rivera, who was going to go down and watch their scrimmage. I think that's pretty cool. Why not? It's open to the public, so why not attend? That's very cool, and I'm sure he'll pass along any info he can to Coach Carson. You know what? If people are listening to this, then strategy, if they're worried about us stealing stuff or whatever, we're not stealing anything. There's no Bill Belichick deflate gate or any of that stuff here. We're just, we're taking advantage of what's accessible, right? It's no harm to go watch teams play. I mean, that's what it's all about. So Francis Parker, 5-7 last year, got in the playoffs at 6-4, second place in their league, had a lot of seniors on their team that are now gone, and had quite a few sophomores and freshmen, not as many juniors. So they are a young team. We'll see if they picked up any bodies, but 32 players, that's roughly what you see with kind of this level of play that Rio Hondo faces here and there. So the Rio Hondo team last week did pass out their jerseys during the week. Of course, then we had the meet the team event with team pictures and everything. So that was a lot of fun, and it's cool to see these guys in their jerseys. They'll be in their white unis down in San Diego, of course. That's kind of where I wore white today. But man, it's here. Time is now. The place is here, and there's no more talking about it. It's time to see who's about it and who's going to step up this year. Last year, we saw so many great players step up, especially the freshmen. Noah Penaneri, Elijah Gavia, really just stepped right in. Calogero Chico was a big time player, made some, quietly made big time plays. I don't want to forget anybody, but there was just so many freshmen that just stepped in. Ivan Tkach, I think he's a sophomore, he's a junior now, I think. Man, he looks great out there. That Coach Carson says always in great shape. Really impressed with Nate Curtis. His practices. Alex Mustaine looks like he has good control of the offense, and just some of the practices that I have seen. Colby Johnson looks healthy and moving well out there. And really excited about Josh Tafflinger. I think he's going to make some big plays, probably play a little tight end this year instead of just offensive line, and just a guy that's going to contribute, obviously kind of the inside linebacker guy. And I'm excited about our secondary, as Coach Carson is, with Tyler Dang, Kalo Giroux, Josh Curtis back there, guys like that, ready to make plays and defend the turf, if you will. So defensive line, we'll probably see a lot of different mixtures going in there, and a lot of different guys are going to contribute this year. I'm really excited for, a lot of new guys. Jacob Gomez comes to mind, a guy that Coach Carson has talked about. I mentioned Elijah already. Just a lot of new faces. Those freshmen are a year older. They look great. They're moving well, and just very, very excited to get the live reps going here. No more of this practice stuff. Let's see what we got against another team. And the Rio team, I'm not sure when they'll leave. The game's at 7:00, probably in the afternoon, early afternoon. Probably get most of the drive out of the way, get some food down there, and you don't want to get stuck in traffic like so many of us have before. So guys, I implore you, if you're going to hit the road, please leave early. And I mean, early. I'm going to try to get to that pizza place, maybe 4:00, maybe even earlier than that. I like getting to games way early. No reason not to. Let's get there and, fellowship a little bit, and possibly, share some food and talk Rio football. I think it would be a great way to kick off the season and to, just get fired up, man. I don't think there'll be any college football or anything like that going on, but should be a blast. I don't know. There's no other way to say it. It's a great way to start the season and to get things rolling. I can't think of a better way than to, head down south, head down the 15 and return to San Diego and get this thing going. So excited. Not sure which side of the ball is gonna jump off the page or do better than the other. We'll see. Last year, the defense really did a great job in shutting down El Monte out of the gate and then controlling the clock with the running game. I think we'll see the ball in the air a lot more this year, as Alex Mustaine does have a pretty powerful arm. And I watched practice a lot where they were doing a lot of, again, play action, which is kind of the Rio football game. And they got some guys that can get out in the open field, as I mentioned, especially Nate Curtis, and then Kalo Giroux kind of being a deep threat as well. And we're going to see more and more of these guys. Caden Holcomb, newcomer, a guy that's a junior, looks really, really good, built really well, inside linebacker, plays some offensive line, maybe some tight end or fullback, excuse me, not offensive line. But I'm just pumped. We'll have more to talk about over the weekend. After the game, we'll be back Sunday for the post-game show with head coach Mark Carson, and we'll bring on a new player to learn about them and hear about their experience and what the trip was like. No reason to be late to the game. You got plenty of time. It's Saturday night. Can't wait. Hopefully we see Navy SEAL BJ Jacobs there. We'll see Colby. We'll see Kevin. We'll see Rob. Hopefully we see you there. And let's just, there's no more talking about it. It is time, guys. It is time to play Rio Hondo football for real. And right after this week, we dive into the home opener in Pasadena Poly. Away we go. So all summer has been fantastic with the fun, long episodes. And it's time to deliver. It's time to have another great season. Excited for these guys. I wish them nothing but the best. I wish them healthy seasons, and I know they're going to make us very, very proud. So once again, pregame shows 24 hours before kickoff. Maybe a guest, maybe just me talking about the rules, previewing the opponent, and just helping you with the drive in the drive time, right, on the way to the game, and then post game shows on Saturdays or Sundays, depending when we can get one recorded. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We will see you about 100 miles away down in San Diego as Rio Hondo Prep opens their season against Francis Parker. Who's ready? I'm ready. Are you ready? Let's get this thing going. We'll see you guys nice and early down in San Diego. Let's go.